Hello there, my friends, and welcome back. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the only battle that is worth fighting, at least in this man's humble opinion. And the only battle that is worth fighting is the battle to exist, the battle of life, if you will. It doesn't have to be a challenge or a battle or a competition, but often it is, and it brought to mind a poem. It's a poem by Dylan Thomas. I cannot recite the whole thing, but there's a very famous line in that poem, which is, "Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light." And many interpretations of this poem were that it related to his father, who died a few years after the poem was written, I believe in 1952. And I think the poem was written in 1949, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, it's a very famous poem because it's about fighting against the inevitable. It is about fighting against death, death which will come to all of us. It doesn't matter how much we evolve our capacity for, transhumanism or put a brain in a jar. None of this matters. It doesn't matter if we go to Futurama or we go back to cavemen. The point is that we all are mortal and we all will die. And that is something that's very hard for a lot of people to grasp, to the point where we've created afterlives and heavens in order to pacify ourselves. And that's no offense to anyone who believes in a world beyond this, where you live as you are today with your mind and your body. If you believe that, more power to you. In the past, I would have said it's delusional and it's bad thinking. But no, I honestly believe there are good lies we tell ourselves. And that's not a bad thing. But this poem by Dylan Thomas and writing about death, the reason why it is so well quoted and discussed is because it is something that most of us, deep in our hearts, know is important, to fight against the inevitable. We are all going to die. If we had given up today, in other words, taken a literal nihilistic viewpoint that nothing matters, or even today there are many people who consider themselves, well, there's a term for it, but antinatalism is the term. And it basically means humans are generally miserable, so therefore we shouldn't procreate and we shouldn't exist. It is the most miserable, pointless, it's not even a philosophy, because philosophy has a predisposition of humans existing to philosophize, if you will. If humans didn't exist, we couldn't think about the importance of the universe. Whether that's good or bad thing doesn't matter. The point is that we're here and we're trying to navigate this world as best we can. So all through our youth, we're told to buckle down and do the best you can and find things that move you and excite you in life. And then often when people get older, they start to just kind of give up, and then they talk about how, well, I've had my day. Oh well, I've had my life. And this actually is bothersome to a lot of people, including myself, when I've heard friends or family or acquaintances talk about how, well, I've had a good life, I could die tomorrow. It's like, well, but do you really want to? It's not about the actual death. It's about fighting to the very last day to make sure that you get the most out of life. And this doesn't mean that every day has to be exciting. I think there's a major misconception among people that if you aren't out there every day doing something and getting something done, being, quote, productive, then you're somehow not living to your full potential. I consider that complete bullshit. My philosophy is to take each day as it comes. Some days I may organize. Some days I might go to work. Some days I might go on vacation. Some days I might just sit and watch Netflix all day. That's not the issue. The issue is enjoying those moments where you are here and not worrying about the what ifs, the tomorrows, and kind of really embracing what we have now. Because we can't handle our own battles with mortality as individuals, it leads us to things like war. It leads us to the division we have in politics and everything, even as mundane as what bands are good or whose you know, who's a genius and who's not, or what inventions are worth keeping. It's just, we live in a very silly time when things are moving and progressing so fast that often people just kind of throw in the towel and say, I don't want to live in this world. I would like to say, embracing all change and taking the world for what it is as it happens, it's invaluable. I mean, you can't put a price on the ability to fluctuate and change with the times. You can't hold back and be one of those guys that's like, I like the good old days. We can still have nostalgia, but moving forward, taking life for what it is, and then realizing that, yes, we're mortal and we are going to get the most out of it that we can. And whatever happens after we die is what happens after we die. Seems very simple, but it never is. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. I got to get home now. I'm at work, just finishing up this tiny home framing that we just got done. We've come a long way in like 3 or 4 days. We got the whole 3 walls on it and everything, and the whole interior ready. I think this is going to be a nice little tiny home. And I will not go gentle into that good night, but I will go gently into my car and go home because it's the end of my day and my week. And I'll see you all soon. Peace.